The Su-122 self-propelled gun, short for Samokhodnaya Ustanovka 122mm, was one of the Soviet Union's first important self-propelled artillery pieces during World War II, developed to meet urgent demands on the Eastern Front. Built on the chassis of the T-34 tank, an enduring symbol of Soviet armored strength, the Su-122 primarily served as a mobile artillery unit supporting infantry forces, offering powerful and flexible firepower on the battlefield. The emergence of the Su-122 came at a time when the Soviet Union urgently needed effective combat vehicles to address battlefield challenges, especially following the shock of Operation Barbarossa. Alongside the success of similar German designs like the Sturmgeschütz III, the Su-122 represented not only a tactical response to wartime needs, but also a significant advancement in Soviet mobile firepower strategy. The self-propelled gun was introduced in April 1942 as the front lines began to stabilize and the demand for mobile fire support grew increasingly critical. The heavy losses suffered by the Red Army in the early stages of the war highlighted the shortcomings of towed artillery against the opponent's mechanized firepower. Although powerful, towed artillery units lacked mobility, were vulnerable to attacks, and were too slow to effectively support armored units, particularly when facing fortified positions and enemy strongpoints. The urgent need for a mobile armored firepower force, capable of supporting armored units, especially in breaching fortifications and overcoming enemy resistance, became critical. This situation drove the Soviet Union to seek new solutions, leading to the rapid development of self-propelled guns with enhanced mobility and firepower. One major factor influencing the Soviet decision to develop self-propelled artillery was the success of Germany's Sturmgeschütz III assault guns. The Sturmgeschütz III demonstrated outstanding effectiveness on the battlefield, particularly in infantry support during decisive battles. Recognizing the potential of turretless self-propelled artillery, the Soviet High Command saw an opportunity to lower production costs, speed up manufacturing, and mount larger guns on existing chassis, creating powerful yet flexible combat vehicles. In April 1942, the Soviet Union's main artillery directorate, GAU, launched several self-propelled gun projects, among which the SG-1022 was one of the first experiments. The SG-1022 prototype, built by combining captured German chassis with the 122mm M30S howitzer, ultimately failed due to serious design and production difficulties. However, it provided valuable lessons for future developments. At the same time, UZTM developed the U-34, a self-propelled gun based on the T-34 chassis and armed with a 76.2mm F-34 gun. This project, however, saw limited deployment, possibly due to its overlap with the T-34's existing role or a lack of interest from military leadership. After these initial setbacks, UZTM, under the leadership of F.F. Petrov, proposed a new concept combining the T-34 chassis with the 122mm M30S howitzer to create the U-35. The proven power of the M30S, capable of destroying fortifications and inflicting heavy damage, made it ideal for infantry support during offensive operations. Using the reliable T-34 chassis also saved time and production costs while ensuring high mobility. Development of the U-35 progressed quickly, with the prototype completed by the end of 1942. Despite some shortcomings, trials confirmed the design met urgent battlefield needs. The U-35 was officially accepted into Red Army service and renamed SU-122 following the Soviet military's naming conventions. Although it was not without flaws, the early deployment of the Su-122 reflected the Soviet Union's pragmatic approach to rapidly fielding effective combat vehicles under wartime pressures. The Su-122, one of the Soviet Union's first self-propelled guns during the Second World War, was developed using the chassis of the T-34 tank, 1942-1943 version, and inherited the Christie suspension system, providing excellent mobility across diverse terrains. A key feature of the Su-122 was its fixed box-shaped superstructure, which replaced the traditional rotating turret, reducing overall height and creating space for mounting the 122mm M30S howitzer. The 122mm M30S howitzer served as the Su-122's main armament, offering powerful firepower suitable for destroying fortifications, infantry, and lightly armored vehicles. However, the gun's horizontal traverse was limited and required manual adjustments, resulting in a low rate of fire of just 2 to 3 rounds per minute. The vehicle carried 40 separately loaded rounds, mainly using the OF-462 high-explosive fragmentation shell against infantry and fortifications, along with the BP-460 A-shaped shell capable of penetrating up to 160 millimeters of armor, though its low muzzle velocity impacted accuracy at long range. In terms of armor, the SU-122 featured rolled homogeneous steel up to 45 millimeters thick at the front and 20 millimeters on the roof, offering limited protection, especially against the increasingly powerful anti-tank weapons of the time. Powered by the V12 Claymont V234 diesel engine producing 500 horsepower, the SU-122 could reach a top speed of 55 kilometers per hour and had an operational range of 300 kilometers. The crew of 5 operated under cramped conditions, making the working environment particularly harsh. Although the SU-122 demonstrated impressive firepower, its limitations in rate of fire, accuracy, and protection became increasingly apparent on the battlefield. Nevertheless, it remained a crucial foundation for the development of Soviet self-propelled artillery. In the fierce context of the Second World War, the Ural Heavy Machinery Plant, UZTM, in Sverdlovsk, now Yekaterinburg, became the primary production site for the SU-122 self-propelled gun. After the U-35 prototype was approved in late 1942, UZTM rapidly launched the production line for the SU-122 to meet the urgent demands of the battlefield. The first U-122 units were completed as early as December 1942, with plans for large-scale production in the following months. Although designed and manufactured within a short period, the SU-122 quickly became one of the Red Army's main weapons, delivering strong firepower to armored forces. However, as the battlefield evolved, particularly with the appearance of heavy German tanks such as the Tiger I and the Panther, the need for more powerful weapons prompted a shift in production. Despite its formidable 122mm howitzer, the SU-122 faced limitations in rate of fire and long-range armor penetration, leading to its replacement by the SU-85, which mounted a more effective 85mm gun. Though the SU-122 had a relatively brief production run, it laid a solid foundation for the development of later self-propelled guns like the SU-85 and the SU-100. The production experience gained from the SU-122 enabled UZTDM to transition quickly and efficiently to SU-85 manufacturing, allowing the Red Army to respond promptly to shifting battlefield needs. Moreover, the SU-122 played a vital role in expanding the Soviet Union's medium self-propelled artillery forces, marking a significant turning point in Soviet mechanized warfare. The SU-122, after being deployed for the first time in combat on the Leningrad and Volkhov fronts in January 1943, quickly proved its value as a powerful arm of firepower within the Red Army formations. Initially, the SU-122 was assigned to mixed self-propelled artillery regiments, often fighting alongside Su-76 vehicles, forming a strong and flexible combined force. As production numbers increased, the SU-122 was organized into independent medium self-propelled artillery regiments, SAPs, playing a crucial role in offensive operations and in supporting the Soviet Union's mobile forces. Armed with the destructive power of 122mm shells, the SU-122 was primarily tasked with providing fire support to infantry and tanks during assaults. Notably, it played a key role in destroying fortified structures, machine gun nests, and obstacles, clearing the way for assault forces. However, due to the nature of warfare, the SU-122 sometimes had to engage enemy tanks directly to enhance its capability in this role. From May 1943, the SU-122 was equipped with HEATB P460A rounds, improving its effectiveness against armored targets. The Su-122's participation in the Battle of Kursk in July 1943 stands out as one of the most notable moments in its combat history. With approximately 56 vehicles taking part in the fierce battles, the Su-122 engaged infantry, fortifications, and heavy German tanks, including the Tiger I. A German battle report even recorded that a Tiger I was hit by up to 8 shells from a self-propelled gun on the T-34 chassis, causing severe damage. Nevertheless, the SU-122 still faced limitations, particularly its slow rate of fire and low accuracy when engaging moving armored targets at long range. The SU-122's advantages are undeniable. Its powerful firepower from 122mm shells, excellent mobility thanks to the T-34 chassis, and 45mm sloped armor that provided effective protection in the early stages of the war. However, its shortcomings, such as a slow rate of fire, low accuracy against tanks, and limited turret rotation, diminished its combat effectiveness. These drawbacks became even more evident when the SU-122 faced off directly against the enemy's heavy tanks. Nevertheless, despite these limitations, the SU-122 played an indispensable role in the war. With its strong fire support capability and agility, it proved its value on the battlefield, particularly in major campaigns like Kursk. Nevertheless, the SU-122 played a significant role in the history of Soviet weaponry. As the first mass-produced medium self-propelled gun built on the T-34 chassis, the SU-122 paved the way for later successful models, such as the SU-85 and SU-100. During the 1943 campaign, particularly at the Battle of Kursk, the SU-122 contributed to the Red Army's mobile firepower. The SU-122 can be seen as a crucial stepping stone in the development of self-propelled weapons by the Soviet Union. Although it was not entirely successful in its anti-tank role, it provided valuable lessons and spurred the development of later self-propelled guns. Even though it was overshadowed by its successors, the SU-122 remains a testament to the Soviet defense industry's adaptability and practicality during the Great Patriotic War.